Politicians of all stripes have put partisanship aside to unite in support of a community in mourning today. Green Party leader Elizabeth May joins me now from Tumbler Ridge. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Michael.
We are seeing partisanship be put aside in this very difficult moment. You flew over from Ottawa with all the leaders, and I was speaking to Don Davies about that, and he was saying how remarkable that was. To me, you know, in your mind, how important is that moment right now, that there is that unity, but also for all of the leaders to be together on that plane and on that flight?
I have to say, Michael, that I question, you know, when a community's in mourning if they really want to see a bunch of politicians. But in watching the broadcasts out of Tumbler Ridge and hearing people, even one or two voices saying, it's helping us to know how much the whole country, in fact, the world is mourning and grieving. And I thought, if it helps at all, there's nowhere else I want to. And when the Prime Minister's office called and said there'd be an invitation, there'd be a seat on a plane, there was no hesitating. But being together, and we were in a relatively small space. It's not. I'm not saying that to complain. I just want to give the viewers a sense that we were sort of knees touching. There's Pierre Poilievre and Yves-François Blanchet sharing, facing each other, and Don Davies and me facing, and I always get along with most people pretty well, and some are very dear friends, and the Prime Minister and his wife. There were moments where we were just all sharing, and there wasn't any attitude. We're just human beings, and we're talking about our own children and showing pictures to each other of our own grandchildren, and we just want to get to them, want to hug them as tight as I can, and I want to do anything I can. And since arriving in Tumbler Ridge, when I see people and I'm talking to them and I said, do you mind if I give you a hug? They said, oh yes, please, that's all what we're all about, hugging here. So I just was hugging the grandmother of one of the students who was killed. So it's important to be here, but if anyone thought partisanship was any part of this, they should have their head examined. We're human beings, and we're one family in this country, and showing care and love for each other is what we do.
How important is that message that it has to continue beyond tonight, beyond the vigil, beyond tomorrow, long after all of the politicians and news crews leave that community? How important is it to make sure that there are supports in place for them?
I think it's critical. I think, you know, it's just like when in a small community, everyone knows this feeling that, oh, you know, you think of a recent widow and you think she's going to fall apart after the funeral. It's important to keep being there, to keep bringing over the casserole that you leave on the front step, that you stay in touch, and that is more than figuratively speaking. Tumbler Ridge is going to need a lot of support, and it's not necessarily that it's policy choices or political actions. It's sharing the love and letting people know here that if they need anything, we are, as a country, here for them. And I think they're also realizing as I've talked to some people in town, it means a lot to them to see that the whole world is reeling and wants to help in any way we can as a human family.
This evening at the vigil, it will be an emotional moment when everyone is there. I was curious to know, what will you be thinking about when there is that moment of silence tonight, and thinking not only of the victims, but of the entire community?
I think what's coming to me over and over again is that I've been to too many vigils. I mean, after the Quebec City mosque killings, and standing in Quebec City in the dark and the cold and mourning innocent lives lost, I have a deep sense of compassion and care for what each family member and each person who knew a family member, what they're all going through. But how do we end violence? How do we end the hate that makes someone do something so unthinkable? And those aren't questions that can be answered. So I'll be praying for everyone who's lost someone here in Tumbler Ridge and in Anishinaabe, and places where when violence occurs, it rips lives apart, and it's not anything that can be repaired in a moment or with political promises, obviously. But the people in this community need to know that we're in for the long haul, and we'll stick with them while they go through the process of what may be impossible, putting a life back together. It'll never be the same. But it can't just be we're here and we're gone and they don't hear from us again.
Yeah, well said. Okay, we're going to leave it on that note. Green Party leader Elizabeth May, thank you so much for being with us this evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you.